Okay, back it up. Back it up a little bit more. Now bring it down. Down, nice and easy. Not too fast. Good job. Perfect spot. Oh, hello, and welcome to Down the Vent. My name's Joe, and today we're taking a look at Expancity from Breaking Games. Let's check it out. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at how to play Expancity. Here we have the game set up for 2 players. To do that, what you'll do is give everyone a set of all their building pieces here, the building blocks. They'll take 6 of them, and that's their starting supply. We have 6. Then they'll take 1 and they'll put it on the scoreboard on the 0 spot. Next, you'll shuffle and then place out 3 of the end game tiles here. This is like the extra scoring opportunities that you'll have in the game. You'll take the City Hall tile, put that in the middle of the table. Then you'll take the 2 different types of building toppers. There's actually 3 different kinds, but they're only one's for commercial. So these ones are for commercial. They either have the pointy top or the rounded top with the point, and then the square tops are for residential buildings there. Next thing you'll do is have each player draw 2 of the city tiles from the bag, this bag, and kind of look at them face down, and take one of the turn order sheets that kind of remind you of what you do on your turn, how you score buildings and different types of buildings, and how many of each tile there are in the bag and everything like that. So it's a good little reminder. So on your turn, it's pretty simple. First thing you'll do is place a tile. So there's 3 different types of tiles in the game. The blue ones are commercial. That's where you'll build your commercial buildings. The green ones are residential. That's where you'll place your residential buildings. And the red ones are the different types of like parks and banks and in their modifier tiles. So they always have this red border around the outside. You can't actually build on these, but placing them next to your residential or commercial buildings can give them bonuses. As you can see, this is a park here. It has a +1 in blue and a +1 in green. That means that each building that you have next to it for each level of the building will actually be worth 1 more point per level. So they're very powerful to put out there. So that's the 3 different types of tiles that you can actually have in the game. So on your turn, you'll choose one of the 2 that you have in your hand to play. In the beginning, it's usually good to play something that you can put a building on. So I'll go ahead and place that there. And then you'll take 3 actions. Actions consist of placing buildings out onto tiles or taking buildings from your supply. There's some rules, though, when placing buildings. You can never place more than 1 building on a tile per turn. So on your first turn, your 3 actions will be place 1 and then take 2 from your supply. Unless, for some reason, someone else decided they didn't want to place on the spot, which would be crazy. After you've taken your 3 actions, you can then complete a building if you have an opportunity to. If you do that, you'll actually draw 2 of these contract cards here, and then you get to keep 1 of them, and then it's like bonus points throughout the game that you can get. And then you'll draw 2 of the new tiles from the bag. You'll keep 1, and you'll put 1 back. So we're going to keep that one, put that one away, and then it goes to the next player's turn. These tiles are private. I just have them face up so you can kind of see what's going on here. So the yellow player, not having too many options yet, is actually going to build a commercial building as well. So that's the first step, the zoning step. And they go to the building step. They'll place 1 building there, and then they'll take 2 from their supply to build up. Then they can't complete any buildings, and then they'll go to the planning. So they draw 2 tiles. They're going to keep the green one here because they don't need another modifier. Alright, so we'll go ahead and go back to the blue player's turn. They're going to place green tile there. And they're going to take their building phase and actually put 1 there and 1 there. And then they have 1 more action left, so they're going to take 1 more from their supply. You'll find that your allotted building blocks actually start to run out pretty quickly throughout the game once you get your buildings going here. So now the blue player has an opportunity to complete a building. There's a few different rules, and this is probably the most confusing part of the game when completing buildings. You can never complete a building that is more than 1 higher than a building you've completed before of that type. And then there's rules on top of that. So you can't build a level 2 residential and then complete it. You have to start with a level 1, proving to the building committee that you have the ability to build better buildings, I guess. So if you have a level 1, you can go ahead and cap it, and then you'll actually get 1 point per level, and then add in any modifier. So that first building is only worth 1 point. Now, because blue has completed this, they can start another green residential building, and they can actually go up to 2 high, and then they can complete that one, and then they could start a third if they wanted, and they could go up to 3 high on that one. 3 is the maximum height for a residential building. They can never be higher than 3. The minimum is 1. Okay. For a commercial building, you cannot actually cap one of those until it's at the minimum height of 4, but they have an infinite max height. So in a couple turns, once I get 4 on here, blue will be able to complete that one. And at the same time, they can keep building up more commercial or residential buildings. And their next commercial could be 5 high, and the one after that could be 6 high, and so on and so on. And you'll see that actually one of the bonus things in this game, the bonus endgame cards, is actually for the tallest tower. It gives you 12 extra points. So that's obviously going to have to be commercial, because a 3 residential just won't cut it in one of these games. One of the tallest I've seen so far, I think, was 7 high, and it looks very impressive on the board once you get them up there. So since the blue player completed a building on their turn, they actually get to draw 2 of the extra score cards here, and then they'll get to choose one that they want to keep. So this one says if you complete at least 4 residential buildings exactly 1 story high, you'll get 9 bonus points, which is right there. Show that a little bit closer. And then this one's called Rough Night. It's worth 6 bonus points. And you have to control at least 4 buildings next to any police stations or bars. Well, there's none of those on the board yet, so that's kind of a bad one to take. I think I could definitely do that for level 1 residentials because I already have one. So I'm going to keep that one hidden. The other one goes on the bottom of the deck. And then I'll draw my 2 tiles. And that'll be the end of the blue player's turn. Alright, we'll take that one. No, we don't want that one. We'll take that one. Alright. So here the yellow player is now going to do kind of the same sort of move here. They're going to place their tile. They're going to build one here, and then take their third action is going to be to take one from their supply. By the way, these blocks, if you go back to elementary school, are kind of like those base 10 blocks, I think they're called, where they snap together and they feel really fun to play with, and you're never going to want to put them down. And you're going to annoy all your friends by doing it over and over again. So they're going to go ahead and do the same thing. They're going to complete their residential building. They're going to draw 2 of these cards, choose one, and keep going with the game. So it'll keep going back and forth until the bag has ran out of tiles, and then you have placed all your tiles from your hand. At that point, you're going to total up any remaining points, finish any buildings that you have your last turn, and then do the 3 endgame scoring bonuses, and whoever has the most points wins the game. Like I said, there's not a lot going on as far as the game, but there's a lot of strategy with how you place your tiles and things like that as well. So, okay, just as a quick example, we can show how these 2 buildings would score, just to kind of understand modifiers. So, this is the police station. It gives +1 to green and 0 to blue. This is a park. It gives +1 to green and +1 to blue. So if blue were to complete, they get +1 point per level. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, +1 for level. So that's 2 times 4. That's 8 points for that building. Not bad at all. Now, say yellow decides to complete their building. They have 2 levels. They get +1 from the police station, +1 from the park, and then 1 just for building there. So that is 3 per level. So that's actually 6 points for completing that building. Not too shabby for a 2-level building. So you can see with modifiers, the small residential buildings can be just as powerful or worth as many points as one of the large commercial buildings. The other thing to remember is that if you ever complete a building that is next to an empty build zone, that counts as -1 points per level. So that would cancel out one of these modifiers here and actually make it worse for you. So you'll at least want to try and start a building on there, so that way it's not an empty lot if you can before capping. But that's about it. That's the last kind of build rule that you have to know about before going through with the game. So let's go ahead, head up, see what I think about Expancity. All right, so what do I think of Expancity? Well, I'm a pretty big fan of city building games in general, and like Quadropolis and something like that. But this one has to be my favorite so far. It's easy enough to pick up because on your turn you get three actions, and either place a building or take a building from your stockpile. It can't get much simpler than that. All the scoring is pretty intuitive. I like that they put all the little markers right on the tile, so it's easy to remember what's what. I like the cards having like the little hidden goals, kind of like you have in Ticket to Ride. It's pretty lightweight game, I'd say, like an entry level game almost, like city building. Um, I really enjoy it. The components are, man, those cities, the building pieces are just fantastic. They stack together. They look amazing when the board's done being built. Looks so cool. They went the extra mile making sure those things really stick out and pop. And then the different toppers just really makes it look like a living city. Like when you're done, like it sounds weird, but man, it looks so good when you're. It's always like we gotta take a picture of this game, even though it's just a game. It still feels like look what we built. This, even I'm even impressed by what other people did in the game. So, yeah, the components are amazing. Cards are a little thin, but they're not being heavily used like the tiles and the cities are. So, uh, yeah, I mean it's simple to pick up, but there's a lot of strategy and different tactics you can try, like going commercial versus residential, or trying to get a bunch of modifiers instead of just building lots of buildings. And then there's those different end game bonuses as well that kind of give you an idea of what you want to build towards that game. So yeah, it's enjoyable. It so far it seems to be replayable. We've tried it out quite a few times already, so not an issue there. I highly recommend you give it a try. It's probably a little more expensive, so I'd wait off on the buy unless you really like entry level city building games, which seems like a really niche market. But I'm happy with it. I'm really glad we picked up a copy. So yes, Expanse City, not Expanse City. Expanse City from Breaking Games. 2 thumbs up. I really enjoy it. Yeah. So until next time, you've been watching Down the Vent. All right. Bye bye.